Hello and welcome. My name is JDeg, and some of you might know me. I'm in the Vicious Syndicate Discord for Hearthstone. And I decided, I enjoy looking at cards, deck building for new expansions, so I figured why not just do a video on each class and what they have upcoming, what ideas I have for, the kind of shells that we can build with cards. And so without further ado, let's just get it started. I think Shaman has a really good set that I'm really excited for. So I really just wanted to start on them. So let's just kind of talk about the cards and rate them. Um, right now, I'm going to kind of split up things into the spell schools, or sorry, the packages, I should say. And I'm also going to be rating because we're doing Taurus cards. I'm also going to be rating the Demon Hunter cards that Shaman's sharing with. And so just know that those Demon Hunter cards are going to be rated by how good I think they're going to be in Shaman for this video, right? So, without further ado, let's just go into our first package, which is Spell Schools. And I'm not going to bother reading all the cards to you, but we have Karis, Cabaret Star, Razzle Dazzler, Cabaret Headliner, and Siren Song. And so, I think Karis, Cabaret Star has a lot of potential, as you can see on the top of the screen here. These are just kind of the different combination effects that you can have based on the spell school that you cast, right? So, I'll kind of go into what the spell schools that we have later. But for the interest of practicality, what we're really going to be getting most of the time is Nature, Frost, and Fire with Shaman cards, and then there's a Fell and Shadow spell with DH that you can get. There's like a single Arcane card, and there's not really any Holy, but either way, you don't really want Holy. The Restore 6 is probably the worst option, right? So with Karis, what we really want to be abusing is that Fire, the Shadow, and Fell. Those are all really good effects. And Nature and Arcane are pretty nice ones if you can get them. But really, you're trying especially if you can get Shadow and Fire, you're very happy with what you did, right? And looking at what cards we have for this expansion, I think that you're going to be able to pretty easily get a good effect off of Karis. She is a bad top deck, which is why I'm giving her 4 stars. It will suck sometimes when you play a frost spell and you're not really happy that you did that. You play a nature spell and you don't really care, right? But I do think that she's got a lot of potential. Razzle Dazzler is going to be essentially the comparison would be elemental inspiration that Mage has. That's the card that summons 4 or 5 elementals with random bonus keywords based on how many spell schools you've cast. And so Razzle Dazzler is going to be kind of doing that similar kind of effect. And I think that he's really good. He has a baseline 5 cost as well as his 4/4 body, which is really, really powerful. So he's going to be filling a board for you most of the time. Even if you play, 3 spell schools, you're summoning what 4 5 cost cards as well as the 4/4. It's a really, really huge pile of stats that you can kind of abuse. So I think he's very powerful. Now, the only issue with why I'm rating him a little bit lower than 5 stars is because there's a lot of competition in Shaman. This expansion, there's a lot of really good cards, and in particular, there's a combo that I'm going to be talking about later on, where I'm not sure if we're even interested in any kind of late game things, including like any other win conditions, I should say. Razzle Dazzler, it is a really huge board, and I could be wrong. I remember during Rainbow Mage that we had Sif, and I didn't think that we needed a board in a box card, but that Elemental Inspiration ended up being really good. So obviously, I'm kind of being, I guess, more careful by rating it 4 stars than last time when I gave Elemental Inspiration like a 2. And then Cabaret Headliner is really the reason that we want to be looking at the spell schools that we're adding to our deck. She's a 4 cost 3/3, and ignore the stat lines. She's just going to reduce the cost of the spell in each school in your hand by 2. She's basically going to be reducing your fire, your frost, your nature, and then you can really deck build around this as well. One of the things you can do is you can abuse this with Wish Upon a Star so that you can get a turn 5 Wish Upon a Star and get a huge buff to all your cards. You can also use her as part of the combo that I'll be talking about later. But the hint that I'll say is that it involves Wind Fury weapons. and she really allows you to kind of abuse those things, right? So I don't see a world where we don't include this card in a tier one or tier two deck. So I'm really excited for this one. And then last but not least, we got Siren Song, which is just get two random spell schools from spell schools you haven't cast this game. So it's even worse than that mage card that was one mana discover one. Because you're just getting two random junk cards. And there's not really, other than Razzle Dazzler, like, I don't really want a Holy Spell. I don't really want a Frost. I don't really want an Arcane spell that bad, you know? To play some junk two mana, get some random bad cards. So, I don't think this is gonna be good. Maybe, no, because even Rainbow Mage, the reason that they include that is because it adds on to your win condition of killing the opponent, right? And so, Razzle Dazzler and Cabaret Star, they're really nice, but they're not the win conditions. They're just really powerful pieces to getting to a winning position, I should say. I think that's the best way I can put it, right? So that's why I gave Siren Song 1 star. But obviously, Spell School package looks really, really powerful, and I'm very excited for it. Just to talk about Spell Schools real quick. So you got your fire spells, a little nice mix of combo and defensive cards as well as an aggressive jam session. So there's the fire spell for every kind of deck, really. Frost spells, you're really just going to be playing Frosty Decor, but the good thing is that card looks really good, and I'll talk about that card later. Then Arcane, all you have is Wish Upon a Star, and then for Shadow and Fel, you only have the DH cards, which are going to be Skirting Death, which looks really powerful. Wink, wink, hint, hint. And Sigil Skydiving, which seems like a really nice shoe-in for a lot of these token shaman synergies that we can talk about later. Um, and last but not least, here are all the nature spells. There's a whole bunch of them. The ones that I want to shout out are Pop-Up Book, Conductivity, we got Turn the Tides, and Giant Tumbleweed. So you can carve into a turn 5 Giant Tumbleweed after a Cabaret Star. So just a lot of powerful things you can do with this, and I'm really excited. No, let's move on to Control though. Control Shaman got a lot of tools. We saw a lot of Control Shaman tools in the last expansion, particularly if I go back. Baking Soda Volcano, very, very powerful card, but not really a home. So let's see what we got to make a home of it. We got Incendious. So we had a whole bunch of issues with Shutterblock beforehand, and that, like, okay, Shutterblock doesn't let you go face, so how are you gonna win? It's a huge tempo loss by playing the 6 cost 5/5 Shutterblock. Well, Incendious is now a win condition that you can do. So Incendious shuffles 5 eruptions. That'll essentially deal 2 each unless Incendious lives, and then they'll do 3 or 4, etc., right? So what we can do is we can triple that battle cry and make it an actual win condition. I was trying to look at Incendious in other decks, and I'll say that that's the reason that I'm just rating it here as a neutral because I don't think you can play it in any other class. And so I think that Incendious is going to be a possible win condition using that Shutter Block because it then makes it 15 eruptions, which is actually a reliable win condition instead of just 5, right? Moving forward, we have Frosty Decor, which seems like a very, very powerful card. You can compare this to a Cold Case for Mage. So instead of getting 2/2 skeletons that deal 2, you're paying 1 extra mana and you're getting 2/4 elementals that have taunt, and you get an extra 4 armor as well, right? So this is really, really powerful with Hagatha. It curves perfectly. You put your Hagatha on 4, a Frosty Decor on 5. You can get a 5/5 as well as those 2/2/4s. It seems like a very powerful play. The one thing to shout out with Hagatha is that you won't get those spell school procs. So if you're playing like Razzle Dazzler and your Hagatha draws 2 Frosty Decors, then, well, you lost your spell school for Frost. But still, very powerful play. I expect this to see play in a whole lot of decks, similar to Cold Case. I just think that it's a shoe-in, especially if we're in like an aggressive meta where you kind of want to play your own aggressive Shaman deck. I don't think Frosty Decor is limited to just control. And I think you can just play it in any deck, basically. And it's very powerful for these kind of racing metas where you're in aggro against aggro, trying to race your opponent down, or just as a stall tool for control shaman, right? As well as melt to mental. It's a 3/8 taunt that's permanently frozen. You compare this to Tar Creeper, which is a 1/5, and becomes a 3/5 on your turn. And so basically, if you pretend that the one attack doesn't matter, which it kind of doesn't unless you're hitting their face for one, it barely matters. Then you're basically just getting +3 health on Tar Creeper, which is huge power creep. I think Meltamental is a super powerful card that once again isn't limited to just control, but you could also use it similar to Tar Creeper way back when in protecting your own board in some sort of an aggressive deck. So I think that Frosty Decor and Meltamental are very cool cards that you can use in both control as like stall tools as well as in kind of these racy metas where you not racy, that sounds wrong. In these kind of aggro race metas where you're trying to kind of pressure your opponent and stop them from killing you while still being aggressive. So I think that Meltamental is great for that. That's why I give it 4 stars. And then there's last but not least this Melted Magma. I think that this doesn't really have a home right now, unless there's something. I think that this interaction with spell damage is very interesting. You play a novice zapper on turn 7, and you play 3 of these Melted Magmas, and you deal 6 to all the enemies, which is really interesting. It also gets discounted by Cabaret Star. So it's got interesting applications, but I think that it's going to be kind of on the side for now until we get more spell damage synergies. Um, and then going on, we've got token synergies as well, especially on leaning into the Demon Hunter side. So we got Carefree Cookie, which is our tourist, which is worth noting. I should say that like I didn't put Demon Hunter cards into my control shaman because I didn't see a reason to run a 3 mana 2/2 in that case, right? I didn't want to play a big shaman because if my big DH cards pull cookie, then I'm very upset, right? Um, and it is kind of weird that Big Demon Hunter has these like big cards, but then you end up pulling Cookie, so it's really just a DH card. I don't know. Either way, Cookie seems very powerful, especially on curve with Sigil of Skydiving. We have Murloc Grofin. There's a lot of these little tokeny cards that Shaman has been getting lately that curve well with Cookie and leaving some kind of a body most of the time that your opponent can't deal with. And so as soon as they play their 1 drop, their 2 drop that you want to trade into, then Cookie is a really nice follow up, right? Sigil Skydiving is going to be our Fell spell, which is really nice for our Fell synergies, or our Spell School synergies, I should say. And it's summoning pirates with charge. And so when we have charge, there's a whole lot of applications that Shaman can get, especially with we have Bloodlust, we have Flame Tongue Totem, we have all these buffs like Trusty Companion. And so that's particularly with Sigil of Skydiving, but as well as with Dangerous Cliffside. I'm very unsure on this card actually because I want to say that it's a huge tempo loss at 4 mana. It just seems very slow. But the fact that you can kind of set up, especially with like a Wind Fury hero, and that's something I'll talk about later, you can set up a really nice Bloodlust, which is kind of terrifying. So it's a 2 stars, but maybe there's some crazy deck that abuses the charge minions, and location ends up being nice. And then Patches the Pilot. So I gave him 3 stars as opposed to the 4 stars that Sigil Skydiving Carefree Cookie got. Just because I think that there is a chance that it doesn't end up in this token shaman deck. There is a lot of competition for 1 drops in shaman that can curve into Loyal Companion, which is that 2 mana. Or sorry, Trusty Companion, which is the 2 mana spell that gives a minion +2/+3 and draws a minion of the same tribe. And so there's not really any demons or pirates in Shaman, so it's not really good curve with Patches, but I still think that it has some chance to be good. I think that those charge minions can be good in Shaman, so I'll give it a 3 stars for now. I wouldn't be surprised if it fell out of the list, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it stayed. Um, and then here's our combo with our 5 star card, Skirting Death. So basically, you just play a Wind Fury card, sorry, a card that gives you Hero Wind Fury. That's either Sandard Elemental or Horn of the Windlord. You preload your first Sandard Elemental and you save the miniaturized copy for later, or you just set up your Horn of the Windlord and get ready to attack the next turn. Uh, then you set up with Cabaret Headliner. and you can discount your nature spells in either conductivity, turn the tides, or turn the tides, as well as skirting death. And then you play conductivity, you skirting death an opponent, and so then you can get up to 12 power on your hero, and like as well as you turn the tides. You have a whole bunch of burst damage that you can do. Let's just say that you have a single conductivity, skirting death, and turn the tides. And so keep in mind that skirting death, if your opponent has a 3 attack minion, it's only going to steal 3. Your hero's only going to get 3 attacks. So ideally, your opponent has 4 attack minions. And that also plays into these kind of stall tools that you have in Meltamental and Frosty Decor that are like begging for your opponent to have some 4 attack minion that's left on the board. And so let's just say you have a single conductivity, skirting death, turn the tides, and a miniaturized Sandard Elemental, right? So I have my one, and let's just say I played one of each of these cards, right? I have a miniaturized Sandard Elemental. I've played a Cabaret Headliner earlier, and so I play 1 mana miniaturized Sandard Elemental. I conductivity, skirting death, and so let's just say that's another 1 mana, assuming that it hit those 2 cards and not turn the tides. So let's just say that's 12, that's 13 attack with Wind Fury. And I played the Turn of the Tides, because why not? I played Golganeth, the Thunderer, earlier. He drew my Overload cards. So I just have a Turn of the Tides there, right? So I have now, what, 16 Wind Fury power? That seems pretty powerful. And that's just a single one of these. What if I have another Skirting Death, another Turn of the Tides, right? What if I got another discount? And this was what? What was it? What did I say? It was this is 5 mana. If I played a miniaturized standard elemental and the turn the tide, skirting death, conductivity, and cavalry headliners hit 2. That's very scary. That's 5 mana for 30 plus damage. So I think this has a lot of power available to Shaman, and I think this is going to be the main win con that Shaman uses. And it's part of why I gave Insidious 3 stars. Is because I think that this is what we're going to be winning most games with, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't care about anything else, right? Um, so just real quick, let's do look over our filler. We have matching outfits, climbing hook, paraglide, natural talent, adrenaline fiend, all terrain void hound, and cliff dive. So matching outfits seems kind of mediocre. I will talk about it a little bit later though. Climbing Hook, why would I play Climbing Hook when I could play a Wind Fury weapon? Natural Talent just seems very, very underpowered. I don't understand why you can't discover or something. I don't know. Paraglide seems kind of difficult to outcast right now for Shaman. Adrenaline Fiend seems just I don't know. I don't think you have enough pirates to kind of pull that off consistently, so I don't really like that card. And then Cliff Dive can pull Cookie, so no thank you. Um, yeah, that seems kind of bad. And then All-Terrain Void Hound is just a terrible card. Don't ever look at it. And so here's my wild cards that I was talking about earlier. To start off, we have Novice Zapper. That's an interesting possibility with spell damage with the Malted Magma, like I was saying earlier. You have Doc Holiday. I'm sure there's some kind of Reno Shaman that's going to pop up that's using all these powerful different packages. I don't think you want to do that. Why would I play one Wind Fury attacker when I can play 2, right? And then Seaside Giant is kind of funny. You can play a whole bunch of these location cards, Dangerous Cliffside, Muck Pools. I think there was another one, and play matching outfits on it. And then you have 2 Chained Guardians for that are. I think that's the only 11 cost card. This is shout out to Elteros from the Vicious Syndicate Discord. He was telling me about this. Um, and so that could be a whole lot of stats. And I could see that being like a little surprise thing that ends up being good day one. And then last thing that I wanted to talk about was this Dangerous Cliffside, Wind Fury, Bloodlust thing you can do. So if I play a miniaturized Standard Elemental and I have set up a Dangerous Cliffside, all of a sudden I have 6 chargers that I can Bloodlust out of nowhere. And that's what, 20 damage? No, sorry. Uh, 6 by 24 damage. Look at that. That's kind of terrifying. Actually, I don't know if the location would proc first. So maybe it would only be five chargers. So let's just say it's five chargers, and I have the standard elemental letting me hit for two. So that'll be 22 damage out of nowhere. Kind of scary. So who knows? Maybe that's some kind of combo you can do as well. I think that Shaman has a whole lot of things. Here's some just a couple mock deck lists that I made. I didn't end up making the Seaside Giant Bloodlust deck, but I'm sure that's an option as well. On the left here, you have a full-on combo list that's just kind of trying to get its chip damage in. Um, still playing a little bit of a tempo plan, but also playing the stall tools like Meltamental and Frosty Decor. Jive Insect is another kind of synergy with conductivity that you can discount with Cabaret Headliner. So along with Pop-Up Book. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do there. Jam Session is probably the only card that I am not sure on, but the rest I feel pretty confident in being very good. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a day one meta deck with a little bit of tweaks, right? So I'm very excited for that deck. In the middle here, we have a more token-filled oriented deck with Trusty Companion as the kind of build around. Flametongue Totem becomes a whole lot more interesting now that we have Growfin, we have Patches, we have Pop-Up Book, and we have Sigil Skydiving. So there's a whole lot of different synergies to let Flametongue Totem basically be 4 damage. And we're still playing, guess what? The Turn the Tides, Wind Fury, Skirting Death combo. We just cut the conductivity because it was kind of awkward. And then we still have our power plays Backstage Bouncer, um, Standard Elemental Golganeth to draw our power, as well as Wish Upon a Star. There might be space for running Cabaret Headliner to be able to play Wish Upon a Star on turn 5. I'm not really sure. I didn't really like it here just because we are kind of playing a more tempo style with less draw, so we can't guarantee that we're going to be getting those discounts. But it is something that we could look into, especially if you want to kind of build it more Wish Upon a Star oriented. With two of those, I could definitely see Cabaret Headliner making it into that list as well. And then on the right here, we have our Control Shaman. There's a chance this ends up just being a Reno Control Shaman if you wanted to do that, but I wanted to try out abusing Fairy Tale Forest to kind of set up these combos. And I think Insidious is a really cool and fun looking card that I want to try. So hopefully he ends up working out. I would be ecstatic if he was cool. He seems like a very fun card. And there's Razzle Dazzler in there. Like I said, I think that if the Skirting Death combo gets kind of tweaked to be slowed down, then I could see Razzle Dazzler making into a lot more lists. But for right now, I had trouble fitting him in, and I figured we were just going to be killing our opponent. So what's the point of making it board late in the game, right? But like I said, I'm very excited for this deck. Maybe on my own free time, I end up making this Location Giants Shaman deck as well. But Shaman seems very powerful. The card packages that I got are pretty cool. I'm a little bit upset we got some lame cards with that. What were they? Natural Talent and the other guy. Who was it? Siren Song. A little bit upset that those were, Spell School Shaman has been something that I've been wanting since Sunken City, where we got Coral Keeper, and they never ended up supporting Coral Keeper. So I'm really glad that we finally ended up getting it. The DH cards look very powerful for the tokeny side. It seems kind of a wash on the big side. Kind of silly that we have to run Cookie in order to run the big cards, but oh well. I'm very excited for Shaman, like I said. And I think that they have a whole lot of different packages that are going to be very interesting to deck build around. But if you enjoyed this, let me know. Let me know what class to do next because I'm still trying to decide and I would love to hear feedback. But I hope you guys enjoy this. And yeah, thanks so much.